Hello, it's me again. Okay, I've been asked to go through a control setup for Cliffs of Dover, so I'm going to do that. This is just for the RAF fighters, the Spitfire and the Hurricane. So here we are at the main screen, obviously. Click on Options and then Controls. This is the controls setup. What I first recommend you do is click Save As and type in a new control name. I'm just going to call this RAF Fighter Controls 2. Save. Okay, there are two tabs in the top left. There's a Keys tab and an Axes tab. Anything you'll want to assign to your keyboard, use the Keys tab. Anything you want to assign to a button, like a joystick button, Keys tab. Anything you want to assign to an axis, that's like a throttle, lever, a joystick, or rudder pedals, use the Axes tab. Okay, well, let's start on the Keys tab. We're going to go through all these categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100 billion. Quickly. First window is the Game tab. The only one you really need is none of these. For multiplayer, you don't need any of these assigned. You can have them assigned, but you don't need them, so leave them as defaults. General. Okay, now we start getting into some options. I would assign the weapon system to a joystick, so ignore that. Bail out. Assign something to bail out. Next, make sure you assign something to open and close or toggle canopy. I use the toggle canopy one the most. Control space to open, control space to close. You can also have a jettison, but you don't need this in the RAF fighters. Okay, then we've got toggle primary cockpit illumination. This is the cockpit lights. The Spitfire has two, a left and a right. So toggle for primary and toggle for secondary. They will turn on the cockpit lights so that you can see your instruments better when there's low lighting. Gun sight illumination. That's critical. That turns the gun sight light on and off. You need this one. Moving down here, I've also got map, and that brings up the map. Okay, next one, aircraft. Okay, skipping down the first section, you need trim nose up, or trim elevator nose up, and trim elevator nose down. I have a hat switch on my joystick for those. Then you've got trim rudder left and trim rudder right. They are also on the same hat switch. Those are my up and down, and those are my left and right. In the RAF fighters, there is no aileron trim. You don't need that. Moving on. Toggle flaps. You need that one. You don't need these because the flaps in the RAF fighters are either up or down. Oh, actually, the Hurricane. The Hurricane has incremental flaps. Well, sort of incremental. Actually, you might as well just assign those. The Hurricane has 3 flap settings, up, down, and neutral. But anyway, okay, so just assign those. Next one, you need Undercarriage Raise and Undercarriage Lower, or simply assign a toggle key. I have separate keys for Raise and Lower. Then you've got the emergency undercarriage system. If your undercarriage is broken, the pneumatics are broken, and you need to drop it in an emergency. For the RAF fighters, you need full wheel brakes. That's a single key that activates both brakes. The German aircraft have a left and right. The RAF fighters do not. You don't need that. You don't need any of those. Okay, you don't need autopilot. Fire guns. The only one you absolutely need is fire machine guns, because that's all that you have. However, I also recommend just assigning one to fire machine guns and cannons, just because. You can assign a drop bombs if you want, but obviously in a fighter you don't need it. Okay, now we're getting onto some slightly more secondary ones. You can increase the sight distance, that's the range at which your sight is calibrated to, and then you can adjust the sight left and right, which is the wingspan that your gun sight is adjusted to. Not critical. I don't really use them, but that's what those things are. Okay, moving down, bombs, no need for that, no need for that. Right. Toggle selected engines is only necessary if you're flying a twin engine, which you're not. Moving on down, none of this is necessary, blah, 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 blah. None of this, none of this. Well, actually, you probably, no, you don't need magnetos because they turn on. I have open and closed radiator assigned on my axes, on my throttle, but you could, if you want to use keys for your radiator, you absolutely should assign those, open and closed rad. You don't need an oil radiator, only the German fighters need that. Okay, you've got throttle, increase and decrease throttle. For me, those are on an axis, but you could put those on keys if you want. Then you've got war emergency power. This is the boost cutout. Actually, no, it's not. That's the boost cutout there. And I've assigned that to my joystick button. The war emergency power, I think, is for the German, the 1 and 9s. That's the British one. You don't need that. I like to use it, but you don't need it. Right, propeller pitch up and propeller pitch down. You should have those assigned unless you have them on an axis. Mixture, you can assign those, although RAF fighters should be set to auto-rich, so there's really no need for that. Carburetor supercharger, no need. Right, you need fuel cock 1 toggle. That turns on and off the main fuel cock. If you're flying a Blenheim, you also need fuel cock 2, but RAF fighters, you need fuel cock 1 toggle assigned. That turns your fuel on. What else have we got here? Blah, blah, blah. None of this is necessary. None of this. 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 And none of that. Good. That's aircraft done. Turret. You don't need any of those. View. Right. You don't need any of those. You could assign this one, lean to gun sight. I don't use it, but quite a few guys do. Well, I occasionally use it. I find it a bit annoying. That one's quite handy though, toggle mirror. Although the mirror is disabled, if they ever get the mirrors working again, that will be needed. Okay, let's go on to camera. These ones here I'm highlighting. Field of view plus, field of view minus, field of view 30, 70, and 90. I don't have that one assigned because I use the dynamic. This is the dynamic zoom. Field of view plus and field of view minus. That's how you zoom in and out on the fly. That's how you kind of slide the view in and out. And these ones flick between preset fields of view. So very, very much zoomed in, middle zoom, and zoomed out. Do we need any of these other things? That's okay if you like turning the mouse cursor on and off, but I only use that for recording. Pan view, not needed. Snap view, not needed. In-game time, not needed. Comms, not needed. Chat. This here is quite important. The net stats, that brings up the scores. You know, that table that shows the scores. You can have these assigned. That cycles between friends, all, and enemies for chat, but I just use the mouse, so you don't need it. But that one's quite important. Flash net stats. When you hold the key down, they show. When you release the key, they disappear. Builder, don't need any of that. Vehicle, you don't need any of that for flying. Okay, so that's keys tab done. Axes tab. Aircraft, obviously you need aileron. That is, for me, my joystick left and right. Elevator, for me, that's my joystick backwards and forwards. And rudder, those are my rudder pedals left and right. I also have the wheel brakes assigned on here for when I'm flying the German fighters. But as I said, the RAF fighters use a single assignment. Throttle, I have, where did everything go? Throttle, I have assigned on my throttle quadrant, propeller pitch, and radiator. So all of these are on axes on my throttle quadrant. The rest of this stuff is empty. So there we go. Aircraft is done. Turret, nothing. Vehicle, nothing. And that is the lot. So if you intend to fly an RAF fighter, I think I covered everything that you absolutely need to get started. There are other things you can add, I'm sure, but I'm pretty sure that to get your engine on, to get airborne and basically fly around and shoot shit, that should be the minimum necessary. Once you've done that, don't forget, save as, find whatever one it was you called it. Let's go date modified. That one there. Save it. Bling! Anyway, I hope that helped. As usual, good luck and happy hunting. I forgot one thing. Make sure you press apply. And the other thing you should do is ideally you should not set up controls when you're already online in multiplayer. You can do it. If you're going to do it when you're online, make sure you do a save as and save the file. And then next time you load the game, make sure you load that profile, because it may not remember it if you're online at the time. It may not. For some people it does. For some people it seems not to. But that's just a little tip. Okay. Bye-bye.